One of the biggest things in business that never ceases to amaze me is people don't necessarily understand their business. They don't necessarily understand their financial position. Sales are vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. And unless you've got all three layers that you are aware of within your business, then you might be doing great sales, but if it doesn't turn to profit, it's definitely not going to turn into cash.
Obviously, we've got some interesting economic times at the moment. If you read the statistics, there's a lot of businesses out there that are struggling. Some are just getting by, some are falling behind. What I'd love for you to kind of provide listeners, John, is what are some tips if someone's really struggling now and they're kind of just treading water, about to kind of feel like they're just about to lose energy and sink under. What are the steps they take? What do they need to do?
Yeah. Well, I suppose there's a few layers to that, isn't there? There's the human sort of side of it, making sure they're looking after themselves and making sure they're actually reaching out to people to get advice and to get support. And do you know what? Sometimes people are getting bad advice. And sometimes you need to seek a second opinion, just like with a doctor or a specialist appointment or something. Maybe there's nothing wrong with seeking a second opinion on different things. So get the human sort of get a second opinion. That second opinion might connect you to someone else who can solve a problem. But one of the biggest things in business that never ceases to amaze me is people don't necessarily understand their business. They don't necessarily understand their financial position within the business. And yeah, as you know, I do a lot of work in the real estate sector, but I also do a lot of work in just all other different types of businesses. But the real estate sector is a prime one where they focus so much on the top line. They focus so much on how much commissions are coming in on the top line, but not necessarily focusing on the profit. Or you've heard me say the quote before, sales are vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. And unless you've got all three layers that you are aware of within your business, then, you might be doing great sales, but if it doesn't turn to profit, it's definitely not going to turn into cash. And so if people just understood their business better, they'll be able to decide whether there actually is viable or not. Because there are businesses out there that shouldn't exist. I'm sorry to say it, but there are businesses that don't have a good business model. Some were propped up during the COVID times through JobKeeper and so forth that probably should have died off during that period of time. And some of them, unfortunately, now we are seeing a huge rate of insolvencies and administrations, different things like that in businesses. And the government has made it easier more recently to go through that process without it being, I suppose, the death of you for forever and a day.
Yep. So for businesses you're working with, John, what are some of the key, some of the key challenges that you're seeing out there with businesses today in this climate?
Well, it depends on the business, okay? It's a really interesting economy out there at the moment. From a macroeconomic sort of perspective, this inflation has been sticking and not going down. Only just starting to see signs of inflation starting to ease. But that inflationary pressure depends on the type of business that you're in. So, for example, if you're in the services sector where the majority of your cost is actually wages have still been going up. We're still seeing big requests for increases in wages, and because their mortgage have gone up, they want an increase in their wage. So anyone in the services sector has still been experiencing inflation in their costs. And what do you think people like me say to people when they come to me and they say, my costs are going up? Well, we're going to say, we need to put your prices up. What's that do for inflation? Generally, it pushes it up. But if you're in more of a consumer sort of space, maybe that wholesaler, distributor, manufacturing, your inputs may have sort of eased a bit. Your input costs may have eased a little bit. So they haven't necessarily had the same inflationary pressures. Again, know your business, know where your costs are and know what's driving it. But from a macroeconomic sort of perspective, we've got this almost two-speed economy between different sectors within the economy. We don't necessarily have many sectors or any sectors that are really shooting the lights out in things, and yet there's still great businesses out there that just need to get through whatever's holding them back at the moment. And so I always revert to know your break-even point. If you understand your break-even point, you understand your business. And if your break-even point feels too high and it doesn't feel achievable, then you need to cut costs, or you need to find another source of income to supplement those costs if you want to continue along those sort of ways. So what am I seeing out there generally in business at the moment? People need to be aware of their break-even point, and that is still constantly what I say to people when they don't understand how they're going, is work out your break-even point, and in doing so, you'll understand your business a lot more.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we learned over time, and we really learned through that kind of, that tough point in our business very early on, was go through and work out what are the subscriptions, what are all these little things that you may have in place that you may not even be using, or can you renegotiate certain things? And it was an interesting exercise for us to work out that by going through the bank account, going through all the invoices and going, what's this? What is that? Oh God, that's a cost on an old folding machine we had, or actually we're paying something that we don't even have that lease anymore.
Yeah. You know what, Steve? During COVID, business owners actually did a really good job of using the crisis to review things and change things within the business. We're seeing the signs of those subscriptions and those costs just crept back in. It's time to do another review. I always say once a year, you need to run your finger down your bank statements and just review all those direct debits that just come out automatically, because they creep up. I know we once found a phone rental in our own business that we hadn't been using that phone system forever and a day, and yet we're still paying this phone rental. And so this just once a year, just run your eyes over that and just make sure you're not paying for anything you don't use, because that's just a prime example of waste. You're paying for something that you're not using or not getting value out of.
Well, and I know in the real estate industry, and it'd be similar in other service-based industries, but I know talking to Trace recently, she was saying, agents, they always want the new bright and shiny thing. Oh, we want this because it's going to make us database better, and we're getting, our contact management system, and, all these marketing companies are really wanting to come out, especially in that prop tech space, and deliver all these things that are going to make people more profitable and make people bring in more listings. But in saying that, most of the time you sign up to these things and then no one uses it.
I've seen it over and over again, the subscription that you put in place for your salespeople in a real estate business in particular, but the salespeople don't use it.
Yep. Well, and I've just gone through the process and I do it. There was a couple of things coming out of my own personal bank account recently, and I just cancelled the card and got the card reissued. And you work out when all the emails come through going, you've signed up to this subscription, or you signed up to that, or, that free trial that they say, no, we're not going to charge you, but then they charge their $13.99 per month.
It's actually an awesome way to do it, Steve. Cancel the credit card and only add back in what you actually want again, or actually need again, or will value again.
Yeah, because some of the subscription, personal subscription stuff out there now, trying to actually unsubscribe and kind of cancel that subscription could be very hard.
I tried to cancel my Fin Review subscription the other day. Oh my God, that's not easy.
3 months free, 6 months free.
Talk to somebody. I had to actually talk to somebody on the phone to cancel my Fin Review subscription. And then they offered me 50% off to stay subscribed. So I stayed subscribed because I saw value in it then at 50% off. But now I've got to cancel it again.
Yeah, I know. I've done that with News Limited and, the Courier Mail, and it comes in. And I said to the lady one day, I said, every time I ring up to cancel, you just give me a better deal. Why don't you just give me a better deal in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many people just sitting there paying their subscription fee, right?
What's like the old gym model, isn't it? The gym makes money out of people paying a subscription and not going to the gym. You're not actually helping with their health and wellness or anything, but there's a great business model behind that.
Yeah. And the gym owners in, February, March are always cheering because they've got so much cash that's come in January. And then, by the end of the year, they're kind of like, oh, we need that cash injection in January and February, March,